Guys, Dave and Auken back with my good friend Grant Dawson. Grant, how are you, my man?
Fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely, brother. It's awesome. Like, especially with you now, Grant. We can talk about upcoming lightweight fights, and yes, Usman and Edwards is coming up, and the generic stuff. How's training camp, Grant? How's your diet going? But when I talked to you 4 months ago, when a little Star Wars, a little Marvel popped up, and dude, you were just like kid in a candy store. So we've been doing this more and more. Mandalorian is back. So all the people that's like in the know, it's back. There's been 2 episodes already. I think I'm going to drop it a little bit before episode 3. They've been incredible in my eyes. And I'm like, dude, Grant, let's just talk about it for 15, 20 minutes, see where it goes. I actually just saw Ant-Man 3, by the way, yesterday. So I don't know if you want to get into that area. But Mandalorian episode 1 and 2, first thing that pops in your head.
Man, I got to say the first thing that pops in my head is they don't miss,
They don't miss.
Yeah, like Star Wars is so hit and miss in so many aspects, but the Mandalorian, they don't miss, man. The Clone Wars was another good one, and it was just so good. First 2 episodes really get us into the story. I'm really curious to see, is the whole season going to be about his redemption arc? Who's the big bad guy this season? That's what I want to know, dude.
So always, your wonderful wife Elle knows this. I always have notes for the thing. Look at my thing; it's bad guys. So that's funny you said that, because I really want to go there. I love so far, and I think you and I have talked about this. So Mandalorian, there's usually 6, 8, or 10 episodes a season, and of course it will gel together, and you can watch them all together. It's amazing. But the thing they do that I love immensely is each episode is its own movie. Like, you can watch one episode and be like, wow, that was awesome. It took me on the story, went on the arc, and usually it does lead into the next thing. But each episode, it's its own, world. And for me, episode 1 and episode 2 had different bad guys, and I loved them. Like, I loved both bad guys. Like, the pirates in episode 1 was cool, and he kind of finalized that. These creatures in episode 2 were awesome. And then, of course, the guy that captures him, the robot, it was awesome. Like, I love that it had its own bad guys. And, of course, at the very end, spoiler alert, sorry, episode 2, I hear, like, that's, like, the biggest bad guy in the world for Mandalorians. Like, that's the main creature, bad creature, right? Is that what I'm...
Well, I don't know where they're going with this. What I was taught is it was an animal on there that they hunted. So kind of like John Deere has the deer head as it's. That's my understanding when I was growing up, is that those things were on Mandalore and they hunted them, and killing them was a huge feat, and that's why it became their symbol. I don't know if they've changed that, because when Disney took over, they changed a lot of things. So I'm really interested to see where they're going with this. And if I remember correctly, those creatures weren't amphibian. So I'm very curious to see, because it was underwater. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. I have a theory though about the bad guy this season, or maybe not even a bad guy, just somebody showing up. In the Clone Wars, there was a group of pirates that was led by somebody named what's his name, Hondo. Okay. And he was one of my favorite characters, and he didn't die in the series, and he led pirates, and I'm guessing that he's going to make an appearance in this, because the pirates that were in the first episode were the same species as him, except for that swamp monster dude at the end. So I'm guessing that guy, the swamp dude, who I can't remember, I don't know if they told us his name, he took over his pirates. The Mandalorian is going to run into Hondo, and they're going to have to do their own side adventure. And I think that's going to be really cool, because he was one of my favorite characters in the Clone Wars.
That's awesome. So, okay, we did a lot there in 2 minutes. There's so much more. So first of all, do you like, and this is just me, I loved how those pirates were the main bad guys for episode 1. And then, those creatures, right? Those creatures out of the cave, and they attacked them a couple times. And, do you like how there's kind of so far through 2 episodes, like its own individual bad guys, if you want to say? Do you like that aspect, or do you like, usually you want Darth Maul and you want 8 episodes getting to a final fight with Darth Maul?
Man, you got to keep it exciting, and I feel like they've done both, especially if you watch the Book of Boba Fett, where it's like, this is the Moff Gideon is the bad guy all the way through, and now we're kind of done with him. And then in Book of Boba Fett, it was kind of like we didn't really see who the big bad guy was going to be until the end, and then Cad Bane showed up, which was super cool. I really hope that wasn't the only thing they used him for. I like it. I like that we don't really have a clear vision of what's going to happen. Are these pirates going to show back up? Is there going to be somebody else? What's this big creature in the water? I am definitely liking the way that they're doing it so far. And also so I don't know if you know this, George Lucas originally he wanted Darth Maul to be the main bad guy through 1, 2, and 3, but he thought that he was so badass that he would take some badassery away from Darth Vader in 4, 5, and 6. So he decided to kill him in the first movie.
Yeah.
I feel like this robot alien thing was the same thing, because that thing was so cool. Like, I wish that they didn't kill it in this episode. That thing was sick. I would have loved to have known more about. Is that a sentient thing? Is that an animal? Is that a droid? Yeah. What is that thing? Because that thing was so cool, and I think that it should definitely come back.
Yeah. No, great point. Okay, so he goes into the water. I'm like, wow, like this is it. I really thought, to be honest, what you said, I thought this whole season was going to be about his redemption. Like, I thought there wasn't mainly going to be a main bad guy and just, good versus evil. It was about testing yourself or whatever, redemption of himself. So that's where I thought. But now he's going into it at the end of episode 2. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And he's kind of saying what he needs to say, and he's walking down, and then like, boom, he goes down under, and it's like, whoa. I love how she just flies in there, gets into it.
Right.
Why do you think that? So now she saves Mandalorian, and they're coming up. But like the bad guy was like, that big creature was just like staring at her. Like, what was your take on that?
Man, so the creature was like, its skull was the skull of their symbol, right?
Yeah.
Like the Mandalorian symbol. So I don't know if this is just like a throwaway thing. I don't know if this is like the bad. What I think is going to happen is so Bo lost her troops, right? What I think is going to happen is he's going to get back into his guild. He's going to become a Mandalorian again and get back into his guild. And he's going to use his troops or his Mandalorian brothers, and they're going to try to retake Mandalore with Bo. I think that's going to be the whole premise of this. I think the dark saber is going to change hands. I think Bo will become.
I think that's.
She'll get it. And did you watch the Clone Wars?
No, I didn't. You mentioned it to me last time when you talked to me off air. That might be a weekend thing for me. Like one of these weekends when there's no UFC event, 7 in a row. I think I got to give it 8 straight hours and go for it.
Yeah, you wouldn't even get halfway through it. It's like so long. There's so much into it. But she's in the Clone Wars, and she had a sister that was the ruler of Mandalore, and she was romantically involved with Obi-Wan, and then she died due to Darth Maul killing her, and then Bo got Obi-Wan out of there, and you find out that they were sisters, and that was a whole cool arc there. So I really like what they're doing with her. I think they casted her really well. But she is definitely meant to save Mandalore, in my opinion, and become the ruler there. And I think that Mando or Din is going to help her do that with his Mandalorians, because she used to be a part of Death Watch. And then there's this whole big messy thing that happened, and then she had her own troops, and now we're here.
So with that being said, I love that arc. I love that hypothesis. So if that's season 3, season 4, season whatever it is, what do you think is the end of Mando? I hate to say this out loud, do you think he might get it and, kind of pass the baton over and all of that? Or do you think him and Baby Yoda goes on? What do you think will be the arc of Mando then towards the end?
Well, the writer came out and said that he's planning on making as many Mandalorian seasons as he can. So this is not going to be a short ride, in my opinion. I think by the end of this season, my opinion, I think we're getting some good ground on recapturing Mandalore, and then the big bad guy shows up. I don't know who it will be. I don't know what's going to take place in it. I don't know if it's going to be somebody we know, somebody new. No clue. But I think a big bad guy is going to show up. Then the next season, we win the fight, and then he goes off with Grogu and keeps doing stuff. I do hope that at some point they get far enough along that Grogu hits his teenage years. I think that would be super cool, where he's not like an infant. He's like a teenager. Maybe he's got his own armor. Maybe he's got a lightsaber and he's really kind of figuring it out, and he's a little more sassy than he was. But I bet you I bet you he's going to speak his first words at the end of this season. And I bet you anything they're going to be like, it's going to be dad or father or something along those lines.
Pull those strings. You almost have him as like Rocket. You know, he was kind of Rocket turns into a teenager in the second Guardians. And like I said, so I just saw Ant-Man 3 with my son Colin, and they had the preview of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Looks incredible. Like, oh my goodness, looks incredible. Did you see Ant-Man yet? Can we get into that or no?
I haven't. Okay. I don't care about spoilers, so if you want to go ahead. But I've heard some people say it was good. Other people say they just are not into this like this Thanos wannabe.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
One last thing with Mandalorian, and then we'll get right into that. I love that because we talked about it last time. We were hoping that he was going to be awesome like Thanos. We'll get into it. I remember the last one. The last thing I want to get into, and like one of my dark horse things I love about this show so far, and even the first 2 episodes went all in on it. I love the sets, the different worlds, the different looks. I like when they went through it. There was raining 3-4 times. They had to go through to the to the planet. How are you as like a fan of it? Does it kind of bring you back to childhood of like all these cool, like I feel like I'm watching the show and I'm like watching course Mandalorian walk, but I'm like I'm looking around, I'm like watching everything. I'm watching the sets, I'm watching the planets, the islands. I think it's incredible what they do with overall the whole look.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And you nailed it when you said each episode could be its own movie. Yeah. And that's kind of the situation we're at. I'm so happy that we are out of desert planets. I don't know what Star Wars' fascination with desert planets is. Like The Force Awakens, desert planets, you know, and then it goes on, and then all of Book of Boba Fett, desert planets, and then most of the first season of The Mandalorian, desert planets. It's just desert planets, and I'm so sick of sand. It's rough, it's coarse, and it gets everywhere, and I'm sick of it. So I'm so glad we're on a planet that we've been to before, because you can see in the Clone Wars how beautiful Mandalore was, and so like how great their society was, and to see it kind of, I'm not sure, it crystallized over. I don't know if that's the correct term. It looks like whatever.
Ash or dark,
yeah, super cool. Yeah. Like this is going to be a lot of work, and then once we go down into the mines and we realize like, hey, there's other things here. I think there's something big. I think there's something big coming on Mandalore, and I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be good, man. I'm really interested to see it. I would hope that these pirates are not the main bad guys, though. And
I agree.
Yeah,
it's its own. I think so far we haven't seen the main bad guy, or the very, very end, the last scene. Like that could be the big creature of the whole show, kind of a thing. Whatever. One thing you said about the sand that was so funny, that same kind of thing. Every DC movie, every ending, it's like black and lava and fire. It's incredible. Even the Shazam, the trailer, you see like the end of the movie, it's all black, it's all lava. Every super DC like comic, like Superman, like why is there lava here? Like there's lava always at the end, and that's what the sand made me of it. All right, so we talked about Ant-Man 3 and Kang. I think it's Kang. It's like Cyril Gone. It was Gone, and John Jones all week was calling him Gain. I loved it. It was awesome. All right. So long story short, last time we talked about it, we hoped that he was going to be Thanos and everything. There's already Avengers 1 and 2 kind of, or 4 and 5 if you want to make sense in the future. Another Spider-Man and the Guardians. So they have their next 5, 6 round up, and I thought Kang was going to be the main villain. I still think he is, but I will say this, and I don't want to spoil so much, but I will talk to you a little bit through it. It was a little bit of a roller coaster as the movie. Some really high, great points. Some 3 to 5 scenes that are like, dude, this is awesome. Like, this is Iron Man 1, this is Guardians 1. There's some like really high-end scenes. But in this movie, there's a lot of low scenes, a lot of like doesn't matter, or they try to make secondary and third characters more secondary and third characters. And to me, like, they just come organically, like in a weird way. Boba Fett was all organic. Like, he was not supposed to be who he is probably in 2023. The organic love of it. And that's even as a fighter, right? You can't just say, hey, we're going to love Sugar Sean O'Malley. Like, we love fighters organically. So with that being said, they tried that too much. And I thought that was a big weakness of the movie. Then we get into Kang. So let's just say he doesn't win, right? I thought he was going to win. And to be really honest, I thought he was going to kill Ant-Man. I thought we were going to see it. His daughter really grows up in the movie, and she plays a major role, and she's great. She's really funny. She fights more. She has her own suit now. She becomes a main character. So I'm like, this is perfect, right? They're going to usually create a big villain. He needs to kill someone, like in Rocky IV, Drago needs to kill Creed, and so on and so on. He doesn't. And they kind of win at the end. And I'm like, wow, really? Like, I thought this guy was going to be our Thanos for the next, decade in a weird way. And at the very end of the movie, they might, we see him again. Let's just say that. But yeah, they didn't make him strong. They a little bit Darth Maul-ish, if you want to say, like, he was awesome and he had some really great moments. He's a great actor. He communicates like you feel it. And that's awesome. Literally through a big screen. I'm like, wow, this guy's great. But he kind of gets Darth Mauled at the end of the one movie. And it's like, especially Ant-Man, like, you can't lose to Ant-Man. Like, he's the 9th Avenger. Like, you didn't lose to Iron Man. So, I thought it was a C+, B- movie. And it is what it is. But yeah, it wasn't a jumping off point.
So there's a couple of things that I have wrong that I feel about this, and the first one is it's like, because you remember that Kane he's in Loki, right? Loki. He's in the show,
yes,
which was super cool. So and then they killed him, they won. So there's versions of him. There's so many versions of him, and that's the thing that I don't like is it's like. Okay, we beat this version. Now it's
that's exactly what happens, Grant. That's exactly what happens.
Right.
So they beat this version, and now we see a little bit of we see a lot of versions of them, and we see the multiverse at the very end of the movie, and a lot of him goes, okay, we're done of just one of us because the Avenger or Avengers does beat us in all these timelines, but let's all get together. Let's have 200 of us and we would be unbeatable. And that's where they go to. That's kind of the very end of the movie. And I'm with you. I was like, yeah.
It's just, I'm not into it. And it's like, no matter how many times, okay, here's my, did you watch Dragon Ball Z at all?
No.
So I've seen the first 2 arcs of Dragon Ball Z, right? And in Dragon Ball Z, and there's so much Dragon Ball Z, like hundreds of episodes, hundreds of arcs, hundreds of things that happened. And this is where I lost interest in Dragon Ball Z. It was the second arc. We had just beaten, I believe it was the Saiyans, the evil Saiyans. We're going through that whole thing with Vegeta. All this is happening. And then all of a sudden, this guy named Frieza shows up. And they're literally losing their minds because they're like, Frieza is the most powerful thing in the galaxy. Frieza is going to beat everybody. Frieza is going to unalive anybody in his way, and it's not even going to be a challenge for him. And it's like, okay, so we have to build, and then we managed to beat Frieza, right? It was a 4-hour battle.
Wow.
Like if you just watched on YouTube the fight scenes with no dialogue, it's 4 hours long. So we finally beat him. We get back home to the planet. It's like, wow, we just beat the most powerful person in the galaxy. That was amazing. And he's like, well, other than this guy's actually the most powerful. Like he's coming now, and we got to beat him. He's the most powerful. Frieza was, Frieza, but now we got to beat this. And then after that, there's this guy. And so it's like when you build somebody up like Thanos, where I was in high school when Thanos first appeared, and he's like, you just see a little glimpse of him, and he's like, okay, I'm coming. And it's like, what is this? And then they did nothing. Nothing with Thanos came out. Nothing. And then movies later, it's Thanos again. And it's like, what is going on here? What is going on? And then I'm a full-grown adult who could have children already. And it's like, oh, this is Thanos. Like, holy crap. And then he completely lives up to, what they build. And then as soon as we beat him, the moment we beat him, oh, but there's this guy too now. And he doesn't get any build up, doesn't get any, like, he's in an Ant-Man movie. Like,
and I wish I wish Marvel, and I think it's been a weird 3-5 years. And I think COVID really hurt it too, as way to be perfectly honest. And it was a weird time. And now with Disney Plus, and we talked about this with Star Wars, they're throwing so much at the screen. It's like every 6 months there's a new show, which low-key, I think you and I like low-key. And then some people don't like, it was the Captain America and Falcon show. And then it was Hawkeye. Dude, I love Hawkeye, the character, and him in the movies. He's a great fourth character in the movies, and he has his one-liner. But when you make him the main star, and they had a really Christmas theme to it, which I love Hawkeye, the show was not good. Like, the show just was not really good. I don't know if you even watched it. Just to me, it was not that good. My point is, where I was getting at is, these movies, like Ant-Man 3, could have been perfect with just a big spider as the bad guy. A bad guy. And also, dude, Marvel has 10,000 awesome bad guys. There's so many bad guys. We see it in X-Men all the time. I think like Juggernaut's the most unused good character. Why? Like, he should be an awesome bad guy. Like, really killer, be a bad guy for a movie or two, and then Magneto comes, and then Juggernaut's his right-hand man. It's like, oh, this is awesome. And it's just like, they went right into Kang, and now like they are showing this story arc, and I think he is going to be our, I hate saying this, our generation's Thanos, our 10-year Thanos. But yeah, it would just been fine. They could have just very easily made a bad guy, or a bad guy from the comic books of Ant-Man, or whatever they want to say, Dracula or whatever. And the movie to me was mainly about his daughter. Like, his daughter really grows up, really gets the part, really becomes towards the end like the main star. She has all the funny punchlines. She makes the big save. Like, she becomes the character. Her name is Cassie. And it's like, okay, like, we see what we're doing. Maybe Paul Rudd doesn't want to do 6 more Ant-Mans and be a part of the Avengers. Maybe it's going to be Cassie moving forward. You got to go? Or no. Okay. So I just I just wish they would have left the Thanos type bad guy away for a couple of years. Let a couple movies go. Spider-Man 4, Ant-Man 3, Guardians 3, awesome. And then we can go into it. And he can even Loki 2 is coming out. It's the show. He could have kind of came back in that a little bit, defeated Loki. And now we're in 2024, 2025. And now let's push him into the movies.
So those are all great points. Here's what I would have done. And so you had WandaVision, which came out. And I believe it was the first live action Marvel show, in that universe, right? Yep. And so it was like this huge thing. I loved it. WandaVision is my all-time favorite. I think it's better than Loki. I think it's better than Hawkeye. I think it's better than all of them, right? Here's what you do is you sprinkle in the TV shows, let's say Kane, because that's their bad guy now. You sprinkle him in there. Like, he's the one who showed Wanda how to do this. Like, he's the one that did. Okay. And then you put him in Loki, like he was in, you sprinkle him in there. Then you put him in Hawkeye. He's the one that's, helping the Juggernaut and the Kingpin in Hawkeye. Yeah. And then you sprinkle him in She-Hulk, which nobody watched anyway. So, they wouldn't have seen it, but still. And then, so now he's a part of all these shows, and make him the good guy in some of it. Make him help the Avengers in this show, and then he hurts the Avengers in this show, and you're just kind of like, what in the world is this guy doing? And then boom, you have 3 big movies come out with him as the main like antagonist, and I don't know what his story is. I don't know what he's trying to do, but it's probably take over the universe, since that's what they're all trying to do. And I think that would have built it a little bit better, because we already did the sprinkle with Thanos in movies, little sprinkles of Thanos in movies. I think if you put him in TV shows, maybe at the end of like the Doctor Strange movie somewhere, and you just kind of hint that it's like, hey, we're putting him. You have to watch these TV shows to really get what's going on, because I think that's what people liked so much about it was it's not a Captain America movie. It's a part of this most expensive television show
saga,
ever, right? You know, this big series. It's part of all of this, and we it's all connected. And then boom, Thanos shows up, and it's like, holy crap, this guy's. And then they did a great job with Thanos by having him beat the absolute crap out of the Hulk, which nobody has done throughout the Marvel universe. Like I can't remember a movie where he lost a fight, you know.
So perfect that you said. I kind of even forgot that he defeated the Hulk, and then towards the end of the movie, he beats them all in a way, in a crazy great fight. That's what I mean. Like Kang, his first motion picture, he loses to Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man's the 9th Avenger. Like, and I love Paul Rudd. I'm a Paul Rudd guy. I'm a comedy guy. I love Paul Rudd. He's the 9th Avenger, and he lost to him like one-on-one. Like you can bring 20 of them, 30 of them. Like, that's it.
Paul Rudd is the comic relief character. You cannot lose to the comic relief character. One of the, I don't know if you've ever seen this show. It's called Avatar: The Last Airbender. And one of the best things about Avatar: The Last Airbender is even the comic relief character plays a huge part in the show. He grows. He starts off as a comic relief character. He grows and he becomes a real leader. If that character had killed the main bad guy at the end, I would have been so let down as a child. I never would have watched that show again. There are spots for, like you said, and here's the thing where this is where my mind is going, just off of what you've told me, is all I can see is a bunch of so go to not Infinity War, Endgame, at the end when it was all the Avengers fighting Thanos' army. All I can picture is replacing that army with a bunch of blue cons, you know, and they're just running and they're just and it's just like, what are we beating up a bunch of clones? Like it just visually it looks weird in my head, and it doesn't really look. And also who's the if we beat Thanos, we beat the army. If an army of cons, who's in charge?
And we'll wrap it up. Last thing, and then one more thing on Mandalorian. We'll wrap it up, my man. The thing too is that the Kong that we saw at Ant-Man was the same Kong that we did see at Loki, and the same one I think in another end of a movie. So like this was the one that we saw. Like this is the one that we thought is the main one, and all these other timelines. Like we got Peter Parker, we got Spider-Man, and then Miles Morales and Porky Spider. They're all the other timeline ones. And that's cool. Like, that's cool. But there's one Spider-Man. We thought this was the one Kang. Like, this is the one guy we've seen. Like, when you introduce him, just him, that's who we think is the man. And then he loses in the very first time he gets into a fist fight. It's like, come on now. Like, wait, I don't care if there's 20,000 of them. Like, they're droids. Like, they can't be the main bad guy. You need Darth Vader to run 20,000 droids, you know? So,
exactly.
Wild. All right, Mandalorian episode 3 and 4 coming up in the next 10 days. What's if it goes like, what's one thing you're like, oh, Dave, yeah, they did this. I'm so happy. This is awesome. Is it the Yoda? Is it the baby Groot talking? Is it, is that the main bad guy character that was in the water? Do you want that to be more, mainstream, more vocal, more prominent in these next 2 episodes? What's the thing you're looking forward to the most?
I want to see I think Hondo is going to make an appearance. I think him and the Mandalorian are going to team up to beat up this Scooby-Doo swamp-looking guy. You cannot tell me you did not get Scooby-Doo vibes from that swamp monster Like, let's see who he is, gang. Like, that's the first thing that popped into my head. Maybe I'm a child, but that's what I think. Hondo and Mando taking over the Pirates. You know, maybe the Pirates and the Mandalorians team up to free Mandalore because Hondo owes him one. And do you know this character that I'm talking about, or you have no clue?
No, I don't.
When we're done with this interview, just YouTube some of his highlights. Like he's got some funny one-liners. He's very intelligent. He's almost like a comic relief bad guy, but they do it really, really well where he is a real threat. We cannot tell whose side he's on because he switches sides so much because he's on his own side. He's a pirate. And he even says that. He's got a bunch of good one-liners. Look him up and
kind of like Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, he's a lot like that.
Because he always was flipping. He was always with the girl, not with the girl, always with the Orlando Bloom, not, you know.
Right. The thing that I like that they do it a little bit different, though, is he shows up. It's like, okay, you're watching the episode, it has nothing to do with pirates, and then all of a sudden he shows up, and you're just, man, this is not good. You know, and he always, he's a great character. I really like this character. And unless I'm completely missing, I have no memory of him dying at all. And I'm usually pretty good about that. I've seen the Clone Wars a bunch, and I don't think he ever dies. I think he just kind of disappears like they did with Cad Bane, and Cad Bane showed up, which Cad Bane's character in the Clone Wars is so much cooler than in the Boba Fett, and he was the badass in Boba Fett.
Yeah, my brother did tell me that, actually. He told me, like, that's it wasn't a, you know, I don't want to say a mess up, but that was a thing that he wished would have changed a little bit.
They screwed up with his mouth. His mouth looks different, and like he can't enunciate his words because they gave him big sharp teeth, and I don't think he had the big sharp teeth in the.
Right.
He's a great character, and honestly, if he wasn't in the Clone Wars, you love him in Mandalorian. But if you grew up with him in the Clone Wars, because he was in season 1, he was in the end of season 1 of Clone Wars, and he all the way through he makes different. And he's in Bad Batch, so like there was a lot of hype behind him making his real life debut. So that, and I thought they did fine. I thought it was fine. It wasn't as good as the Clone Wars, but not a lot is.
Very cool. Well, there we go. You know, I told you it was going to be literally 32 minutes before you knew it. Guys, Grant Dawson, top 15 UFC lightweight on this planet. It was super cool to see that video that millions did it. Guys, and by the way, you've done it like 2 weeks in a row. Hopefully you can do it again. You doing on Millions is awesome. Very fun. Just a very fresh thing that you do. When Grasso won the championship, that video was super cool of you watching it and just seeing it live on air. That was awesome.
I love, not to cut you off, but I love seeing that. I love when Juliana Pena beat Amanda Nunes, because it's like nobody's invincible. I loved it when Alexa Grasso beat the GOAT. I loved it when Volkanovski almost beat Islam. I love all of that. Like these you probably won't remember it as well, but TJ Dillashaw versus Renan Barao. It's laughable now.
Memorial Day, my man.
It's laughable now because Renan Barao isn't considered, you know, like this.
He was back in the day. Brent.
He was the pound for pound best fighter in the world. TJ Dillashaw was a plus 1,600 underdog. Or
short notice.
Bigger than that.
And he wasn't even a top contender. Like, not just to be like brutally honest, it's almost like if Makhachev and Benny DeRouche was going to fight a week out, Benny gets hurt and Drew Dober gets the spot. It's like
that's a great example.
Great
example.
And then Drew Dober destroys them for 5 rounds and then TKOs him in the 5th. You're like, what are we watching here?
It makes you go like, and she's my teammate. I love her to death. She's great. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Rose was another one.
Yeah.
If I didn't have any money to bet, but if I did, I would have put every penny on Joanna to knock out Rose. No problem. Excuse me. And I still think she's the better fighter. 100%. I just think Rose kind of has her number, you know, the styles make fights. And it's just one of those things where it's like, dude, like he looks invincible right now, but somebody is going to expose him and it's going to be a joke. Like it's crazy. Usman and Edwards
Leon.
was
Yeah.
one of my
Next
all-time
week.
favorites because it's like, dude, I said it. Nobody's gonna beat Usman. Usman will retire with one loss on his record, and that dude is sitting in a bar somewhere, broke as shit, telling everybody, "No, I beat that guy. I beat that guy," and everybody's gonna call him a liar.
We were just talking about the greatest show on TV right now, The Mandalorian. That's why mixed martial arts, and especially the UFC, is the greatest sport in the world. There's just nothing like it. Yeah, like and it was great debate too. Like me and Elle had a serious 8-minute debate about John Jones and Cyril Gahn. Like there are a lot of people, not even just Elle. And of course, now afterwards, we think it's like laughable. A ton of people had Gahn winning that fight in so many different ways. And it's the greatest sport in the world. You never know. Literally, Peter Yan and Morales about to fight in 24 hours. It's awesome. It's a great month. Even UFC, like I said, yeah, Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev around the corner. It's awesome. Grant, we'll let you run, my man. Yeah, Mandalorian has been amazing. I think in a weird way, I love season 2, episode 1 might be like my favorite episode ever. I love that episode. It was amazing. The first time we met. I love that actor who's like the cowboy of it, and they had to beat that big creature. That was the whole episode.
Timothy Olyphant. He's wearing Boba Fett's armor.
Yes, yeah. And they have like kill that big creature, and they work all episode, and they finally do it. And Timothy Olyphant's awesome. I love it. These 2 episodes back to back have been incredible. Just A+. I just love where they're going. And yeah, we'll do this again in 2-3 weeks when we see a couple more episodes.
I'm super excited for it, man.
You're the best, brother. We'll talk to you soon, all right?